You're listening to a Soul One podcast. Hello, Katie.
Hi.
My brain's not working. I apologize. This is You Had Me At Skip It, and this is Taylor. And Katie, friend of Taylor, friend of the show, is joining me for a very special, I think we're calling it a Galentine's episode, although I did see it with my husband.
Okay. Yeah, and I mean, it's a little past Galentine's Day, but that's okay. I like it.
It works. Did you tell us what movie we're reviewing?
So we're reviewing Wuthering Heights. I don't think we did this as like a formal book club, movie club, but it obviously is a book adaptation that has gotten a lot of discourse, so I'm happy to be talking about it.
I did not read the book. I've never read the book. I was messaging with a friend recently. She's kind of a new friend, so she's like learning about me. And somehow, in the course of our messaging, she's like, oh, she sent me a meme. She sent me a meme about how, like, shot for shot, this looks like, I think, I don't know, one of the other ones, like another Jane Austen. But anyways, it looked like a shot for shot, like, Keira Knightley movie. And right. She went, I can't believe she did this. And I went, I'll be honest, I haven't seen any period piece movies. I'm going in blind. I haven't read the book. I have no frame of reference for this genre. And she's like, I can't believe that. You're telling me you haven't seen, like, any... What would you... I call them, like, BBC period pieces. What would you call them?
Yeah, like a period piece is fine. BBC, you can get a little specific. Like, the Austen adaptations, but this is so not...
Yes.
Anything like those. And we can get into it because I love the Austen adaptations. And I'm actually kind of... feel like, I'll let you finish your story, but I'm going through a similar thing with a friend of mine who's, like, a huge Pride and Prejudice girl who, like, hasn't read the books and was going to go see this movie, and I was like, I don't think that this movie is what you think it's going to be, and I don't actually think you're going to like it.
I think I'm the target audience for this adaptation.
Yeah, that's totally fair.
Because I have no skin in the game. Although it is... you know, I say I'm the target audience because I have, like, no frame of reference. But Emerald Fennell, or I've heard it pronounced Fennell.
Yes, I've heard it pronounced Fennell as well.
As Canadians, Emerald Fennell. What I've heard the discourse is she read the book when she was, like, 14. She absolutely loved it. But this is her, like, fever dream adaptation. So maybe you should... love this IP. I don't know. I went in completely blind, and I think it was for the better because I had absolutely no expectations other than what I saw in the trailer.
Yeah. So where do you want to start? Do you want to start with, like, did we like the movie?
Yeah, I think that's a fair. Oh, I was going to start with this will probably be a very light spoiler episode, only because I assume you are, and I would like you to talk a little bit about the book and how there's some changes. And so I think by virtue of that, there'll probably be mild spoilers, but
I would probably say we're going to spoil
everything.
The movie.
Okay. All right.
It's impossible to talk about the book without doing that.
Okay, fair enough. So, as we say, if you do not want spoilers, or you haven't read the book yet, or haven't seen the movie yet, and you want to do both, pause, come back to this episode later, because, you know, all bets are off. We're going to talk about everything. But I will start by saying, Katie, I'm a huge Emerald Fennell fan. I know she's only put out 2 movies so far. I loved Promising Young Woman, and Saltburn was really fun. I wouldn't say it's, like, my favorite movie by any means, but I had a good time. So I went in with this movie having seen the trailer, having really liked her other work. I thought, okay, I'm excited, and I dragged Dan to come see it with me. I said, that's my Valentine's Day gift. He has to take me to the movie. So I will say, as someone who had went in blind. I mean, I heard the internet discourse, which we'll get into, but I really just went in as a movie fan. I enjoyed the movie. I thought it was good. It was a fun time.
Yeah, I am really surprised to say that I agree with you. Because the thing is, like, I am a book person, and I read this book in high school, and I was one of those high school girls who, like, loved it. I never thought, I mean, we'll get into it, but I never thought of the book as being a love story, which I think is what a lot of people do misread it as.
Right.
But I was like, you know, our mutual friend, Erin, and I used to talk about how people teach Wuthering Heights wrong because it's not a love story. It's about crazy people doing crazy things. And that is how it should be taught, because that is what the book is about, and that's way more relatable to a high schooler.
Right.
Because then I read it again in university and also felt similarly. I'm rereading it now, and again, still enjoying it, still liking it. I personally, if you're going to go down the Brontë world, I'm more of a Jane Eyre fan than Wuthering Heights. Wuthering Heights kind of like, it has peaks and valleys. There are parts of it that are so good, and then there are parts of it where I'm like, what are we talking about? What is happening? What is going on? That like kind of really drag out for a while. So I will say that I kind of came out of the movie being like, this is an absolutely terrible adaptation of the book. However, if you are, like, I went in there with very low expectations, and I was like, I'm not gonna think about the book, and I was like, I had a great time. I enjoyed the movie. I thought it was a great experience. It is so beautiful and, like, weird, and the Charlie XCX, like, soundtrack, I really liked it. I think, like, ultimately, you know, my, like, one takeaway from it was that I wish, you know, maybe she didn't call it Wuthering Heights, because, you know, so I didn't see Promising Young Woman, but I saw Saltburn. Also, I wasn't obsessed with Saltburn, but I liked it. I thought it was fun. Saltburn is kind of a retelling of Brideshead Revisited, but she called it something else. And we see this with other movies like Blade Runner and One Battle After Another that are these adaptations of things, but they're not trying to be one-to-one adaptations. They're loosely based, and so they call them other things.
I think she tried to get around that by
putting, like, the quotes
in it. Like, it's even though I only ever see that, it's only on the poster. Like, yeah. I don't see it stylized any other place that way.
It's not, like, in quotes.
I definitely, it's like, if we're, you know, sort of doing, like, a pop comparison, like, in the 2000s, all of the Shakespeare adaptations, like 10 Things I Hate About You, and
yeah, and so I feel like with this is the key is that she wanted to make a period piece. Now, what period is Wuthering Heights set in? It's hard to say. Like, clearly she wants it to be set during the same time as the book, but then there are, like, wild costume and choices, and, like, it's more of a fantasy.
Yeah.
Like, the nightgown that she wears, it's basically wrapped in cellophane. That took me out of it a little bit. I was like, oh, okay.
It literally looked like a costume from Barbie.
Yeah, like, there definitely was a lot of anachronistic stuff. So, in that case, I was like, well, if we're just going to make this a fantasy, like, go all the way with it, you know?
I did hear, or I should say I read, that's been, well, the discourse on the internet has been...
It's been crazy.
Yeah, it swings. It's either too sexy, not sexy enough. Totally vapid, has a lot to say. And then what you're kind of saying, like, if it's going to be, you know, maximalist and, like, very sensual, like, we wanted more of that, go farther. So the discourse has been, like, every which way. But one of the common themes I've seen that are reviewing the movie more positively is that they really wanted Emerald to lean into the more surrealist aspects of the film that she's, like, hinting at, and kind of, like, I don't think, like, absurdity, but, like, that, like, visually she's communicating a very distinct visual language, and they're like, we wanted more of that. I don't know how you could have got more of that. I think she had a pretty defined vocabulary, but that's one of the critiques I saw. They're like, it's good, we just wanted more. Yeah,
I mean, I think that Emerald, she also kind of brands herself, and like the trailer gave this vibe too that this was going to be like really provocative.
Right.
And like the way that, you know, there were a couple of things in Saltburn that I think really shocked people.
Yeah.
There was nothing in this movie that shocked me. I wasn't like scandalized by anything or like, oh my God, I can't believe she did that. And I think that might be what people are talking about too. They're like, oh, she's going to come and claim to like be really provocative and do all these things. And then the movie was actually quite tame in comparison. That's to like, I think what people were expecting, especially coming off the heels of Saltburn.
Saltburn was definitely more provocative and racy than this movie, I would say.
I agree.
2 scenes in particular. I haven't read the book, but one of the things I knew about the book was that Heathcliff digs up bodies.
Yeah.
I guess the only shock I had in watching this was that she didn't include that.
Yeah, so I think that's what I was surprised by too. And then I was looking into it. So I've never seen another adaptation of Wuthering Heights, but this seems to be a very common thing. And rereading the book now, I can tell you that Kathy dies halfway through the book.
Okay.
And a lot of these adaptations end the movie with Kathy dying.
Right.
Because then obviously it's afterwards, like there's this whole other half of the book where Heathcliff then wages psychological warfare on everyone. Because Kathy does have a child who dies in childbirth. Sorry, she dies in childbirth after giving birth to a child. And he has a child. And Kathy in the book has a brother who also has a child. So then the second half of the book is just Heathcliff, like, being terrible to the second generation of children.
Talk about, like, crazy people doing crazy things. Imagine being these kids who are, like, Uncle Heathcliff, or, like, whatever the relation is.
And he's just, like, being insane. And then, yes, him digging up bodies is him going to dig up Catherine's body because he's, like, still obsessed with her.
Yeah, so I thought there would be more dead bodies. And I
thought so, too.
I thought there would be ghosts, because there's a lot of ghosts in the book.
Yeah, so the way that the book opens, the book is actually told as a story. It's told as, like, gossip, which is also fun.
I love that.
It's like, there's this person who's moved into Thrushcross Grange, and he runs into Heathcliff, and he's basically like, what the heck is the deal with that guy? And the housekeeper, Nellie, is like, well, let me tell you. So the whole of Wuthering Heights is told from the point of view of Nellie. But, like, I think in the second chapter, Lockwood, who's the tenant in the present tense, he gets, like, caught in a storm, so he ends up staying at Wuthering Heights. And, like, Kathy's ghost is trying to break in to haunt Heathcliff. Like, that happens at the beginning of the book. And that's why Lockwood is like, what is the deal with these people?
Yeah, this is insane. I love that, getting the hot tea. I read... After the movie, we went out to dinner, and I read the Wikipedia plot synopsis to Dan, and he went, well, this is a much better story with all of the revenge and the...
Again, Wuthering Heights is, like, it's not a romance, right? It's, like, Heathcliff and Kathy are terrible people, and it's the danger of, like, this all-consuming and possessive love in a way. It's, like, not supposed to be an aspirational tale. And I actually think that the movie is also not aspirational. I do think that Heathcliff gets off pretty light, just because I think Jacob Elordi is so charismatic, and I think Emerald Fennell really likes Jacob Elordi, so she doesn't want to make him the villain.
Right.
I think Margot Robbie does a pretty good job of characterizing Kathy as this kind of, like...
Spoiled brat
who's, like, very saucy and, like, also a crybaby and, like, too dramatic and, like, not super likable.
I thought the performances were great. People, like, there was a lot of complaints that people didn't like the casting. And I know there is some controversy around race because he's racially ambiguous in the book. Heathcliff is.
Yeah, so, I mean, this is a big thing. This is what people are complaining about when they're like, if you're going to adapt Wuthering Heights, and then at the center of Wuthering Heights is this idea of class and power.
Right.
So then if you're going to colorblind cast, you're really taking out the, like, point. Like, one of the main themes and points that the Brontes were trying to get at. Sorry, I forget. It's Charlotte Brontë, I believe.
Emily?
Oh, Charlotte is Jane Eyre. That Emily Brontë was, like, really trying to get at. Because, like, and reading the book right now, literally anytime Heathcliff is mentioned, it's always like, that dark-haired gypsy man Heathcliff. Like, they mention, sorry, that is a derogatory term, but it is
that's how he's, that's how he's described. That's swampy.
Yeah, and, like, they're always talking about him being, like, swarthy-skinned and, like, dark-skinned, and, like, every time he is mentioned, and the Lintons in comparison are always talked about being very fair and pale and blonde and frail and, like, upper class. Because even Kathy in the book, like, she's brunette, she's wild, she's of a higher class than Heathcliff, but, like, of a lower class than the Lintons. She's still quite beautiful, but she doesn't have the same kind of purity, in quotes again, in the way that, like, the Lintons are described as. So I do understand where people are coming from with that. That was my first instinct, too. When I read the casting, I was like, this makes no sense. Why would you adapt Wuthering Heights and then take away what is so central to it? So, again, that's kind of what I'm saying, in that, like, maybe you could have called it something else.
Right.
And, like, made it more, like, call it, like, possession or something, and make it more about, like, the horror of a monstrous love like this. The other thing is that doesn't really it's not, this is actually refuted in the movie, but in the book, I always read the implication that Kathy and Heathcliff are half-siblings.
That's interesting, because just today, I saw a review, and the woman referenced that theory, and she's like, I'm not one of those people that read that into the book. So I guess it's up to literary analysis?
I guess it's up to literary analysis, but, like, in the book, like, Kathy's mom is still alive, and her dad just comes home with this orphan and is like, yep, I found him on the street. And it's like, okay, so that's obviously his half-child.
Right.
Or, like, his son from, like, a different woman. And then the whole thing is, like, he favors Heathcliff over his own son.
And are they raised as siblings?
Yes, so regardless, even if they're not biologically related, the love is incestuous, I think.
That definitely is not carried over in the film. It's just like, this is he's more of in the movie, they are not equals. Like, the father introduces him and says, like, this will be your pet. Do with him whatever you want.
Yeah, in the book, they are raised more as siblings. And
right.
Again, the father, like, Kathy has a brother in the book who both Kathy and her father, like, hate.
For any particular reason?
No, I think they just find him... Well, I mean, Kathy finds everyone annoying except Heathcliff, and the father he prefers Heathcliff. I think he sees Heathcliff as, like, being a bit more masculine.
Right.
It's never really explicitly explained. He's just, like, doesn't like... The son's name is Hindley. And so when the father dies, that's when Kathy's brother comes back and takes over Wuthering Heights and makes Heathcliff a servant.
Right. But until then has been living...
He, like, goes away to study.
Right. So none of that is included in this movie, which
Correct.
supports your thesis or your idea that don't treat this movie like an adaptation. You are going to be hugely disappointed if you go in thinking that it's going to explore, because ultimately this is just a twisted love story. There is elements of class, because... You know, Heathcliff he's kind of introduced as a son, but ends up getting treated like a servant. And that's the whole reason why Kathy and him can't be together, essentially, even though it's like miscommunication.
Yeah.
I did think it was interesting that they made Nellie the villain, and Dan goes, Nellie's not the villain. Because she's the most sane and normal of the bunch. But she's the one who throws all of the action into... She starts all the action.
Yeah, I mean, you can argue as to whether villain is the right term or not, but in the movie, she has way more agency. In the book, she's telling the story. And again, you can look at it like the book is being told from her point of view, so is she just telling it?
And unreliable. But, like, in the book,
she is not. She is just, like, a passive person who witnessed all of this, who, like, didn't really... Like, she wasn't really involved with anything.
And in the movie, she's again, that's where the class stuff is evaluated or explored, is that there is Nellie isn't a servant, but she isn't equal to the family. She's like a hired companion for Kathy. She's like the illegitimate daughter of nobility or whatever. And
that's alluded to in the movie, right? Okay.
Yes, yeah.
I went to see it with Mike, and we were talking about it, and I think he missed that. Because I was like, I think it's alluded to that she's illegitimate.
Yeah, I think the dad literally says that to her.
And there's a conversation with another servant as well.
Yeah. And then there's a little bit of class stuff between, and I get the sense that maybe he's a bigger character in the book. I could be wrong, but the only other servant at Wuthering Heights, the only other male servant.
Oh my God. So Joseph in the book is supposed to be like a 70-year-old man who's honestly, the parts of the book where he's speaking, I kind of skip, and I think a lot of people do this too because it's written in dialect.
Oh, yeah.
It's written in like
Yorkshire
dialect or whatever, so you just kind of glaze. You either have to say it out loud or you just glaze over it.
Right. So he's young in the
I know, they made him sexy.
Is he in... That actor looked familiar, but I feel like maybe... Is he in The Queen's Gambit? Or am I thinking of someone else?
Oh, I watched that a really long time ago, so I don't remember. But I wouldn't be surprised.
The actor I'm thinking of is also going to be in... I think it's called Pronounced Pignon with Alexander Skarsgård coming out this year. But I could be completely wrong. But anyways, I will say, as much as I did enjoy this movie, I think it's a fun movie. It's lush. It's beautiful. Yes, the costume girlies are going to lose their minds because, as you mentioned, Katie, they're not historically accurate.
They're not historically accurate costumes. And I will say, like, her wedding dress. And this isn't a surprise because I saw photos of the wedding dress before this came out. And that is honestly what worried me the most. I was like, oh, God.
I did see some online chatter that they're like, this can't be from the actual movie. Like, please tell me they're gonna workshop this wedding dress.
I know.
I liked her poor people costumes better, like before she marries up.
Oh yeah, I agree.
Her little folksy costumes, I liked those. But to me,
those corsets are doing a lot of work.
I was gonna say two things. Well, first, I will say, okay, before I get into some of my critiques, I will say these movies, I'm assuming Emerald is a little bit older than us, but I could be wrong. I'm assuming she's like in her late 30s as opposed to her mid 30s.
She is 40.
Okay, that makes sense. That checks out because to me, this movie looks so much like a 1980s. I don't know if your mom read romance novels in the 80s and 90s.
She did not. She's just not a big reader. She didn't read.
Okay. I was just remembering we grew up very differently, and I thought that this was more about that. But no, your mom just isn't a reader. But anyways, the 80s and 90s romance, to me, Emerald was very much informed by that visual, what they call bodice ripper genres.
Yes.
Yes. So I thought that was very well executed. I think that we talk a lot on this show, Katie, about when directors make stylistic choices, and even if the stylistic choice we don't agree with, if they're consistent all the way through, like, we'll applaud them for that. And so, like, I gotta give Emerald her flowers. Like, I feel like this movie, tonally and visually, was very consistent.
Yeah, I agree.
Whether or not it wasn't enough for people or whatever, I think she was very consistent across the board. My one critique was that, okay, this movie is disregard all of the original source material, the second half of the book, whatever. This movie is very much supposed to be a romance movie between Kathy and Heathcliff. And the middle of the movie, where there's like a 5-year period where they're not together, and essentially we get a montage of Kathy's life, like just being rich and fabulous in her house with her husband and the ward, not quite her sister-in-law. I felt like that...
Oh, yeah, that's another thing. In the book, they are brother and sister, which adds to the whole, like, incestuous relationship then with the children. But anyways.
Oh, yeah, because then they would be, like, direct...
Yeah, they're cousins.
Yeah. Whereas in the movie, she's just a ward and they don't explain
why.
Where she came from. And also, like, why not just make them brother and sister?
Yeah, I don't know.
Anyways, oh my gosh, what was I saying? Anyways, that I felt like, because this movie is over 2 hours long, and I know I gripe about this all the time, but Katie, I don't think movies need to be over 2 hours if they don't need to be over 2 hours. I don't think this movie needed to be over 2 hours.
I generally agree with you, but the thing is, I'm a really big Charlie XCX fan.
Okay, so you're like, give me more.
Well, like, that montage was basically just like watching a music video.
Yeah, fair enough.
And I liked the song. Like, I've been listening to the sound. I actually shouldn't say I'm a huge Charlie XCX fan, because I don't know if I really was before this, but I've been listening a lot to this soundtrack because I really liked it. Yeah, so during that montage, I was pretty into it. And the movie, there were certain parts, like, the part for me that felt long was, like, when Kathy and Heathcliff are just having an affair.
Right, all of the, like,
Yeah, like, okay, we're in the carriage, okay, we're in her bedroom, okay, we're in the, like, the dining room.
The garden.
Like, yeah, and I was just like, this is a little bit too much, because also that, and I know it's okay, because it's not a straight adaptation, but, like, that is just not in the book at all. Like, Kathy and Heathcliff never consummate their relationship in the book.
That we know of. I guess that we know of because the servant wouldn't have seen, right? But, like, is it even alluded to? Like, do we assume that they've had a sexual relationship in the book?
No, I don't think so. I think the whole idea is that, like,
it's yearning.
It's just, like, this yearning. And, like, before being married, Kathy doesn't even really know what sex is, which is, they do kind of show that. It took me out of it a little bit, too, just because Margot Robbie is, like, older. So when she's, like, being scandalized and Heathcliff, like, covers her eyes to, like, protect her innocence, I'm like, okay, this is a 40-year-old woman.
Yeah, she has the face of someone who's known a man.
Yeah, she, like, knows what is going on. She's not, like, a 17-year-old.
And I did hear some chatter that also, like, aside from her being blonde or whatever, people were unhappy that they were kind of aged up. I did hear that also with the casting. They were, like, expecting, I don't know, like, teenagers.
Well, yeah, I mean, because the novel is written in the 1800s, but it's set during the 1700s, it's, like, in the book, I want to say Kathy, like, gets married when she's between 16 and 18.
Sure, yeah.
Like, she's a child bride, basically. And Heathcliff is, like, her age. And it's just, Margot Robbie and Jacob Elordi are very different ages, and she is much older than he is.
I didn't find that. I know you said, oh, that woman's 40. I don't know, when I look at them on screen together, I thought that they were well paired. I didn't get any.
I think that they look good together, and for the most part, I didn't have a problem with the ages,
it was just that scene.
It's just that one scene where it was like, oh, you're supposed to be protecting her innocence, and it's like, clear, like, no. She goes up on a farm, she, like, knows what's happening.
she sees the animals, and she sees the servants. They're definitely, I agree with you. There's definitely some scenes early on when she, like, I think they say that she's, like, 21. I think they might even say, they allude to her age, I think. Right. And not even the scene when they're in the barn, but, like, just, like, scenes where she's, like, feigning, like, surprise, or, like, I didn't think she played innocent well, Margot Robbie.
No, but that also kind of worked for me, because Kathy is supposed, like, the word that keeps being used to describe her in the novels is saucy.
Ooh.
So like, she is supposed to be,
she knows,
like, impertinent and like, not that innocent, but there is this, like, chasteness about her where she doesn't understand. She thinks she knows more than she does.
Right.
About, like, the world. And, like, in the book, when she says that she can marry Edgar and then, like, bring Heathcliff with her and, like, raise him and everything, it is said very earnestly, I think, because she doesn't realize that that's not how the world works.
That's not normal.
Like, also, she's just been at Wuthering Heights for all, like, she doesn't know anything. She doesn't go to school.
Right.
She's just in this insane house for her entire life, which is where, like, the gothic horror of it all comes into.
I didn't find the movie spooky.
No. Well, there's no ghosts, there's no digging up dead bodies.
Right.
Like,
it wasn't a gothic romance to me. It was just a romance.
Yeah. Yeah. And it is supposed to be more of, like, a horror, where it's, like, these two people are terrible, but, like, they deserve each other in a way. The movie is a little bit more, like, likes the characters more than Emily Brontë likes the characters, I think.
Fair enough. I don't know, is there anything else? Do you have any critiques of the movie? My only critique, again, was that I felt that it dragged in certain places, and I would have liked to cut out some of the montage. And I agree with you. I could have done less with the sex scenes and more just, like, there was a lot of chemistry between Margot Robbie and Jacob. How do you say his last name? Elodie?
So again, it's either, like, Elodie or Elordi.
Right. So
don't know which is right.
Jacob and Margot. There was a ton of like the dinner scene when he's, like, first come back and, like, the looks he's giving. I could have done with more of that, I guess.
Yeah, I agree, because I think the two of them work the best, and, like, the chemistry works the best when she is so clearly annoyed with him but pretending that she doesn't care.
Yes.
And, like, I think she did a great job. I will say one of my favorite scenes happens early on in the movie when the Lintons first move in, and it's just a bunch of cuts of her being like, why haven't they come to see me? Now I'm bored. Like, I thought that was great. And, like, really great job of characterizing, because that is who Kathy is in the book, I think. Like, that is just kind of the character she is.
I thought the movie up until Heathcliff left, that, like, however long that was, like 40 minutes, I don't know, maybe a little bit less, very strong filmmaking, like, very engrossing. And then I lost a little bit of interest, kind of in the middle, because, again, this is supposed to be this, like, torrid love affair, and then they're not even together on screen. But I get, they have to leave in order to come back together. I was not anticipating, I knew that there was going to be tragedy at the end of the movie, but I did not anticipate what kind of tragedy. I was like, when Nellie throws off the bed covers, and I was like, oh, Did you see that coming? Because you knew that she died. You knew that she died in childbirth.
I knew that she died in childbirth. Again, the movie changes it where she has septicemia, right? And then it kind of becomes Nellie's fault in a way. I didn't really like that choice, but whatever. And not Nellie's fault, but like Nellie was an agent in that, and I didn't really like that as a choice.
Essentially because Nellie didn't take her seriously. And so, she thought she was just, being dramatic or whatever. And then there's this one scene near the end where Kathy kind of forgives her. And I couldn't quite make up the dialogue, but it sounded like Nellie did know that she was dying and, was, enjoying it. And Kathy's like, that's okay. I know you. It's fine.
Yeah, so Mike and I also talked about this, and I think we both kind of read it as, when sometimes someone wishes ill on someone, and then that thing happens, and then they're like, oh my god,
yes,
I did that. I think it was more that with Nellie being I had ill thoughts to you, and, that's why this happened.
Right.
It not I deliberately killed you, but, in a way, what if it is because of the things that I thought or believed in or whatever.
Right. That would
also in the way, but also then, as you said, she didn't take Kathy seriously, so that is literally her fault.
Yeah, that was. You didn't think to change her bed sheets in the course of this horrific.
But also Nellie was dealing with this all her life, and it's kind of oh my god, this girl.
Get out of bed. Also, the other thing that I could have done to tighten up a little bit was the letter writing back and forth. Write another letter, throws it in the fire. Write another letter, throws it in the fire.
Yeah, that's one of the book changes that I actually didn't mind. Because in the book, Heathcliff and Isabella, they do get married and elope, but then he immediately becomes abusive and she runs away from him. And then has a son and then dies. Classic.
No justice.
No justice for Isabella. But, the movie, I mean, there's been a lot of discourse about people complaining about the, dog play of it all.
Oh, whatever.
If you haven't seen this movie, what we're talking about is crazy. But
that's not what bothered me. It was just the back and forth with the letters.
Yeah, but, like, also, they gave Isabella a lot of agency and, like, in a weird, twisted way, did some kind of consent where Heathcliff was like, I'm never gonna love you, but, like, we can get married to, like, screw with Kathy. And Isabella's like, okay. She, like, consents to buying into this weird, toxic relationship that these other two have.
Maybe I'm naive, but I read that scene as she 100% consented to everything that was going on between the two of them.
Yeah.
And that, you know, Nellie's like, come home. And she's like, no. Dan and I have
she's like, no, I'm already home.
And then the little wink. Dan and I have been talking about that wink for days.
Yeah. So I did actually like the characterization of Isabella. Like, even from her introduction, I did think she kind of stole the show a little bit when she's explaining the plot of Wuthering Heights and Edgar does not care. I was like, oh, I'm in. And, like, playing with her dolls and, like, being very childlike. It does kind of take a hard turn into her all of a sudden being very comfortable in this toxic situation and being into it. But I think that is also kind of the horror of it in a way. Like, she gets swept up into their psychological drama. The only person who doesn't have an interest in being a part of it is Edgar.
Poor guy.
Yeah, but also just kind of there.
He's just doing his best. He just loves Kathy. Anyways. I was going to say something controversial, but I'm going to self-edit myself. You know, as we were talking, it's an interesting juxtaposition because Isabella grows up in a very similar setting in Kathy, in the sense that, you know, you're coming of age in a very isolated, restrained place. And whereas, like, Kathy's upbringing is a little bit debauched because her father is the way he is. And then Edgar's Isabella's influence. So, like, they're similar in a way. It's almost like Isabella, maybe Kathy would have been more like Isabella if she had a nice upbringing. Does that make sense? I'm just kind of talking as I'm thinking. But that kind of, like, that childlike innocence. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think so. Again, I think this is where the class comes into it, because Kathy, while she is upper class, is not as rich as the Lintons.
Yeah, she's in poverty. Like, they're in poverty in the movie.
Yeah, and she's, like, very materialistic. She always has been.
Right.
And so I do think that Emily Brontë does have something to say about class in terms of, like, money. Like, the only way that someone can be nice and genteel is with having money. Like, if you don't have money, you can't develop as, like, a nice, kind person, because, like, the world just beats you down.
Fair. Yeah, the other thing I want to say about this movie, and I found this with Promising Young Woman and Saltburn, I found this movie pretty funny. And I think she does that intentionally.
Yeah, I laughed at parts of it. Even, there were some parts I was laughing where I wasn't really sure if I was supposed to be, like, some of the sex scenes between them, like, when he's like shoving his fingers in her mouth or vice versa. I was just like, okay, this is taking me out of it a little bit. But there were also definitely some parts that were quite funny. And
I guess it's just my sense of humor. Maybe other people, you found it funny, so that's good. And Dan laughs sometimes too. But I haven't seen, in the discourse, I haven't seen a lot about the humor. I did see some things, like you said, people were laughing during the movie, but at times they weren't supposed to be laughing. So, yeah. I don't know. I thought I laughed at the appropriate places. Yeah. So what would you, that was it. That was the movie. I found that. I think we took our listeners through it. I think great direction, great cinematography.
Yeah. I think that I will give her this. I think Emerald Fennell, whatever. I think she's a great director. I would love to see her direct something that someone else writes. You know, I just think that that could be a cool situation.
She's written all three, eh?
I think so.
Yeah, that will be interesting. She's one of these filmmakers that I do get excited about, the same way that, and I always forget his name, the guy who did...
Yorgos Lanthimos?
Well, yes, I do get excited, but although I haven't watched his last...
Begonia.
I did watch that, Begonia. I think I'm going to review it next week. I watched it a couple weeks ago. I didn't watch the one in between, the one that it was like vignettes, or like different... something happiness, a cruel. Emma Stone's also in it.
Kinds of Kindness.
Yeah, I haven't watched that one, but he is a director that I get excited about, and the director who did The Witch and Nosferatu and The Northman.
Oh, Eggers.
Yeah, what's his first name? I always forget.
David?
No.
I'm saying that. I don't know. You're saying the name.
But so she, to me, is up there with those two.
David Eggers is a writer.
I have no idea what the audio quality has been like the last 4 weeks. I can only assume.
I've listened to some of the other shows and it's been fine.
We sound all right? All right. So we'll see how today went because I forgot.
Robert Eggers. There you go.
Roger or Robert?
Robert.
So anyways, today I was like, what is Emerald Fennell's next movie? And everything was just like, Wuthering Heights. I'm like, no, I want to know what her next.
What's she doing next? Yeah.
I hope it's not another adaptation. I'd like to see new content and new stories. I did see, she said, there's so much content in the book. You could do a sequel. And I'm like, oh, Lordy, please do not do a sequel.
I don't know how you do a sequel because there were no, unless you really just don't do Wuthering Heights, because the whole second half of the book is about the kids.
Yeah, no one.
And so far, there are no kids. Although I guess Isabella's still alive.
He could terrorize his own kid, but what's the point? Because Kathy's not. Isn't the whole thing because the kids in the book remind him of Kathy? Isn't that why he's horrible to them? He has betrothed his son to Kathy's daughter. And are they not cousins?
They are.
Kind of?
That's fine.
I know. It's the 18th century England, so that's completely normal.
Yeah, he traps them. Again, that part of I'm a little shakier on. I'm getting to that part now in the reread. But I think because Edgar dies in the book, I think that he somehow inherits Thrushcross Grange and becomes the ward to Kathy, and then basically has trapped Kathy and his son with him at Wuthering Heights somehow. And then Hindley's son, who doesn't exist in the movie as well. There's 3 of them. And I think he makes Hindley's son the servant as revenge. Anyways, it's a whole... There's a lot going on. Did
you watch the... You're not super big on horror, right? But
no.
Did you watch The Haunting of Hill House? And it's the guy... And again, I'm blanking on his name, but he did The Haunting of Hill House, and he did Midnight Mass, which is amazing. You should watch Midnight Mass for sure. But he would be able to do a Withering, the second half of what we're describing, with all of the intergenerational trauma and the revenge plots, and you're in a spooky house and the ghosts. He would do an excellent job.
Yeah, I've actually seen people say that they want to see Robert Eggers do.
Oh yeah,
because I think he could do it. I do think this movie was very inspired by I would say Yorgos Lanthimos, Robert Eggers, and Baz Luhrmann in a way. I think there's a lot of influence between those 3 people, and I'm a big Baz Luhrmann fan. I know a lot of people aren't. But I really love everything that Baz Luhrmann does, including Elvis, which I know is a hot take.
I loved Elvis.
That might be why I really like this.
I loved Elvis, but as you can probably guess, my one critique of the Elvis movie...
Was it was too long?
No, was Tom Hanks. I thought Tom Hanks was horribly miscast.
To be fair, I agree with you on that one. I didn't like seeing Tom Hanks in that role.
But no, I think that's spot on. I love those... I wouldn't say I'm a huge Baz... Oh my gosh, I can't pronounce anyone's last names. But I loved Moulin Rouge and that very maximalist,
highly stylized,
yes.
Almost a music video. Yeah.
Love it. That's how I described the Elvis movie. It felt like a music video, but in the best way possible.
And I think I just like movies that feel like music videos, which is why I didn't have a problem with the montages you were describing.
Fair enough. I'm excited to see what she does next. I think she courts controversy on purpose. That's part of her shtick.
Yeah.
And so I'm interested to see what she does next. It does not bother me. It takes a lot a lot to ruffle my feathers, probably contrary to what people believe when they listen to me on this podcast because I'm such a prude, but it really does truly take a lot for controversy to get to me. So I'm actually excited to see what she does next, but I would like her to do an original story. And like you said, Katie, maybe it'd be interesting to see her team up with like a really talented writer. Yeah. Okay, so what's your final review?
Yeah, my final review is see it. Like, if you're going to be one of those people who really reveres the book, don't see this. You're not going to like it.
No.
But if you enjoy the book and are willing to, like, see something that is a very loosely, highly stylized adaptation of it, go. It's a fun, I mean, saying it's fun is tough because it's not a, like, lighthearted movie, but it was, like, a good time at the theater.
I think kind of the what I would compare it to, although I think it's way, way, way better than Bridgerton, but like the way that Bridgerton is anachronistic and how, and it's hyper stylized and like romance over substance in a lot of ways, although Bridgerton I wouldn't say is as dark as this one is.
Yeah,
but if
I hesitate to call this a romance. Like, there is a romance, obviously. It's Cathy and Heathcliff. But it's, like, it is kind of a horror.
Fair enough. I wouldn't have described that. Our understanding of love, I guess, is very different.
Uh-huh.
No, I know this is a toxic environment. I'm not blind. I know that that's not healthy. I just think when you describe
something as a romance, people expect it to have a happy ending. But as you're talking about, this does not have a happy ending.
You're right. Like, you can watch a Bridgerton season, and you
know that no one's going to die.
Yeah, and it's going to have a happy ending, and everyone's going to be paired off. You're right.
Yes.
But in terms of, like, I guess just, like, style, that's what I would compare it most to. I agree with you 100%, Katie. Don't be a stick in the mud, and, like, if you're going to be a purist, skip this movie. You're going to hate it. But if you're just looking to kind of turn your brain off for over 2 hours and enjoy beautiful people in beautiful settings, lush cinematography, this will be a fun movie for you. Again, fun in quotes. And so it's a see it for me as well. Katie, thank you so much for coming on. I really do appreciate it. I love your takes, and it was fun to talk that plot with you, considering I haven't read the book. You've saved me. I'm gonna do a confession right now to you. I don't really read books prior to 1930.
That's fair. I mean, yeah, they were like written very differently. I think that there is a lot of worth in reading them, but I'm also never gonna like tell people that they have to read them, you know?
I just find that it's the
syntax. It's
yes.
The way it's written.
Yeah, I cannot slog through it. And
which is totally fair. But again, there's a reason that these keep getting adapted, right? Like, we have some Jane Austen adaptations coming out this year because I believe it's like a 250th birthday, I think.
And let's milk that cow as long as we can.
Yeah, and like these stories keep getting retold, like much like Shakespeare, right?
Sure, yeah.
Just because there is such worth to them, but also I don't think you need to read them. Actually, can I plug a podcast? I know we're doing a podcast, but I want to plug a different one.
Go for it. Mike's not here. Mike's not here. We can do whatever we want.
There's a podcast called Zero to Well Read. It's put out by Book Riot, and basically every week they pick a classic book, and classic is in quotes. They've done Wuthering Heights, they've done like 100 Years of Solitude, but they've also done Twilight. Just like books that are in the zeitgeist, in the cultural zeitgeist, and just talk about their merits. And they talk about what they're about, they talk about why they're important. They kind of give you a summary and kind of tell you why you should read it or why you should not read it. Based on, like, if you like this, then you should read it. If you don't like this, then don't read, like, kind of thing. And I find that that's a really great way for me to discover which classics I'd like to revisit or try and read again, and which ones I can kind of say, you know what, I'm good.
Yeah, it's like having a trusted friend make you recommendations based on what you like. Oh my gosh, I was going to say something to you, Katie, and I have it's left my brain. It's gone. That's all right. Well, if I come back to it, I'll message you, or the next time you come on, we can talk about it. Oh, no, I remember. Okay, so You've read this book. I don't know if you've heard this lore. It was literally a meme. So like, you know, a lot of the news I get is from memes. So I know that probably 50% of what I read is just a made up joke. But anyways, apparently, and please confirm if this is true, we got Twilight because, what's her name? Catherine Myers?
Or Stephanie Myers.
Stephanie Myers wrote Twilight as fan fiction, as if Kathy really did love Edgar's. So Bella is Kathy, and Edgar's is Edward.
Edward is Heathcliff.
No.
Oh no, Edward is Edgar.
Yeah.
Got it.
Does that?
Yeah. Again, I would recommend listening to the Twilight episode because they talk about, you know, Stephanie Myers' background. I don't want to get into it too much, but like there are a lot of things in her upbringing and like the way that she grew up that really inform how she wrote Twilight. But I believe that. And then Twilight fanfiction gave us 50 Shades of Grey.
Exactly.
And it's just the gift that keeps on giving.
That was the meme. They're like, if Charlotte Brontë didn't write Wuthering Heights in the 1800s, we wouldn't have 50 Shades of Grey today. That was the meme. So, anyways, we'll leave that. Whether it's factually true or not, I don't know. We'll have to listen to that podcast, Katie, and decide on our own. Thank you so much for joining us, me, and we'll be back next week. I don't know who I'll be with. Oh, I think I'll be back with Nicole. But in the meantime, go see some movies.
Thank you for listening to You Had Me at Skip It, a Soul One Arts Inc. podcast. This podcast is produced by Mike Shepard and Austin Spinner Summer. It is a project of Soul One Arts Inc. To learn more about Soul One and all the great work that Soul One is doing in the arts community, especially in film, theater, and other performing arts, visit soul1arts.ca. You can contribute to this podcast by visiting soul1arts.ca and going to the podcast tab. You'll find all the information on You Had Me at Skip It and how you can get your questions read on air each week. Thank you again for listening.